Okay, quick correction to the Japan turn. Mr. Mystery informed me via email that he had miscounted his money at the beginning of his turn, and he didn't want to save the extra $1. So what he's going to do is he's going to spend that extra $1 and exchange 1 infantry in Japan for an artillery. So he would have spent $3 on an infantry. He's now going to spend $4 on an artillery. So Japan, instead of having 6 infantry, is going to have 5 infantry and an artillery, plus of course the 3 anti-aircraft artillery as well. Okay, so just a quick correction there. Oh, it also means, of course, that instead of having $48 to spend at the beginning of the next round, he's going to have $47 to spend at the beginning of the next round. Alright, United Kingdom turn 2. They have $44 to spend. They're going to advance their tech for $4. They're going to buy 10 men for $30. And for the Pacific Theater, they're going to buy 2 infantry and an artillery. The Brits are only going to make 1 attack this round, and it's going to be on Iraq. And how they're going to come into that attack is they're going to load up an infantry. Oops, I got those backwards, don't I? Yeah, I think I did. Yep. Sorry, an infantry and a tank from Ethiopia, and an infantry and an artillery from Italian Somaliland, and they'll come into Sea Zone 80 and do an amphibious assault there. That attack will be supported by the British battleship from the Pacific side. So that's all the attacks that we're going to see for Great Britain this turn. So we'll see how that 1 attack goes. Okay, here we have the attack on Iraq. From the Pacific Fleet, the HMS Glenern is bringing an infantry and an artillery, and it's being supported by the battleship, the HMS Duke of York. From the Mediterranean Fleet, the HMS Stalker is bringing an infantry and a tank, and they're going up against 3 Iraqi infantry. So we have an unsupported infantry at 1, a supported infantry at 2, an artillery at 2, a tank at 3, and an offshore ship. 2 hits. So 2 of the Iraqis are dead, but they will get to roll their defense. 2 hits. Okay, so the 2 British infantry are dead, so that leaves this guy doesn't get to shoot again. That leaves an artillery and a tank against 1 infantry. Hit. So the battle's over, but the Iraqis reply and miss. Okay, so the territory is taken with a loss of 2 British infantry in the amphibious attack. Okay, British non-combat. 2 of the infantry from Shan State are going to move into Burma, and 2 of the infantry from India are going to move into Burma. Now, I will try part of the move that I was going to do last time, but I was informed that it was illegal because I misread the rules a little bit. But I will now rail 1 infantry from India into eastern Persia, which I have owned since the beginning of the turn. That was the problem last time. I wondered, actually, why that Iraq attack went as sort of closely as it did. I forgot that I was going to bring the fighter and the tactical bomber along. I had it marked, but I didn't bring them, and I didn't use them in the attack. So I actually don't have to shuffle around my forces quite as much. So what I'm going to do instead with the fighter and the tactical bomber is I'll bring them up to Egypt and land them in Egypt. The naval contingent here, the 2 destroyers and the cruiser, will make their way to Sea Zone 98. The infantry in Alexandria is going to move into Egypt. The 2 infantry from Anglo-Egyptian Sudan are going to move into Egypt. And all the way down there in South Africa, that infantry and artillery are going to be railed up to Anglo-Egyptian Sudan. The only other move that we have is over here in Canada. The British transport that has 2 Canadian units on it is going to move from C-Zone 106 over to C-Zone 109. Now, they can't drop them off until the Canadian turn, but I'm fairly certain that they're safe. The Germans don't go before the Canadians. The Italians do, but their plane can't reach where that transport is going to be. So obviously the Canadians will be dropping off in the UK on their turn, but for now they're going to be just stuck in that C-Zone. So that's all the non-combat. I'll just tidy up the board and we'll be back in a sec. Okay, I don't think I mentioned it, but there was a mechanized infantry in Ethiopia that's going to come up here to Egypt as well during non-combat. Okay, so in terms of placements, in India, the Brits are going to place 2 new infantry units and an artillery. And then, of course, in the UK capital, in London, they will, of course, place 10 infantry to supplement the guys who are already there in preparation for the attack that is no doubt coming. Now, in terms of income, I usually set this up, but I didn't. In terms of income, there is one change to the income tracker, and that's the UK going up 2 for capturing Iraq. So, if we go to the income tracker here, we see that the UK are at 39. They're going to go up to 41. So they will have a base income of 41. So that's their money there. I'll just double check the bonuses. As I said, I normally do this prior to, but they do control Egypt, Jordan, and El Alamein right now, or Alexandria, so they are going to get $5 for that. They're not at war with Japan yet, but they do now control Iraq, so that's another 2 IPCs for that national objective. So $41, $46, $48 they're going to carry over to the next round. Okay, so that's what's going to go into the UK Treasury. So let's go around the other side of the board and do our disposition of forces. We'll start in the Pacific. Okay, in Shan State there is 1 infantry. In Burma, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if I've got that correct. Hold on, 4. Yes, 8 infantry and 3 anti-aircraft artillery, along with a single fighter. In India, there are 2 infantry and an artillery. In Eastern Persia, there are now 2 infantry. In C-Zone 80, there are 2 transports and a battleship. In Iraq, there is a tank and an artillery. In Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, there is an infantry and an artillery. In Egypt, there are 4 infantry, 2 artillery, 1 mechanized infantry, 1 fighter, 1 tactical bomber, and 2 visiting Canadians. In C-Zone 98, we have 2 destroyers and a cruiser. In Malta, there is an infantry and an anti-aircraft artillery. In C-Zone 109, there is a British transport with 2 Canadian units on board, an infantry and a tank. In the capital, there is Mechanized infantry, there are 3 anti-aircraft artillery. There is 1, 2, 3. There's 3 fighters plus a French fighter. And then in terms of the number of infantry, 10, 15. There are 18 infantry in the UK. Ready for Germany to do its worst next turn, so we'll see how that works. I believe that is all the British forces that are spread out around the board. So Italy will be up next. We'll see what the Italians do with those transports, if they figure out a way to keep them safe. Maybe move them back to C-Zone 95 and support with some sort of scramble or buy a destroyer or something like that. So we'll see what they choose to do. So they're up next. Okay.